What is the main cause of divorce? I don't know actually. Let me look it up. We see infidelity, financial issues, domestic violence, lack of intimacy, communication, substance abuse, conflict, lack of commitment. You know the type of stuff, regular stuff we're always saying. I think that most of the time it is something smaller that leads to one of these things, okay? This, what we are focusing on today, is a perfect example of that. Because you get sick of each other because you can't see eye to eye on even the smallest things, and you just get like stuff like, what is it, negativity, that's the word that I'm looking for, conflict for basically no reason. I think this falls under communication, but people usually think like grandiose things whenever they talk about communication, but it's usually these small things that you cannot work out, or just ego is in the way of each other, and then that slowly builds up into something big. Am I the a-hole, that's what that stands for ruining my vacation with my husband? Ruining the vacation! That sounds pretty serious. It's not serious at all. For context, today is our first day here. We arrived late at night, exhausted. The bathroom in the hotel room has a crappy seal on the bottom of the door, and I noticed it when I showered. As such, I tried to be careful and only used the handheld shower. Husband showered. He used the overhead, and there was a pool of water about half a centimeter deep covering the bathroom floor. He left the bath mat and hand towel on the floor in the water to soak it. Now already your husband is not clever, being the clever person, okay? Look, what's the best way to deal with water? More than one towel, okay? Let's say, okay, you don't have towels on hand, or you don't want to ruin the ones you have. You go downstairs and you say, hey there, Mr. or Mrs. person, hotel person, could I have, like, if they even open, because it is middle of the night, to be fair. But let's just say, right, the front desk, there's still someone there, ready to help. Can't you just say, like, hey, could I have, like, maybe a couple of extra towels? There's maybe a leak in the seal from the thing, and I need some towels to clean that up. And then the hotel staff is going to say, oh, yeah, of course, I'm sorry that happened. And then you don't use the overhead anymore. I asked him not to use the overhead again. He said he'd wanted to wash his hair, but agreed not to. After going in and out of the bathroom a couple of times, I eventually got sick of it and cleaned it up. There was no drain on the floor for some reason, so I had to wring out the towel into the shower, wipe, wring it out, repeat. This took about 5 minutes-ish. During this time, he called me to come back to bed, and I told him I couldn't yet because I was cleaning the floor. I asked him not to use the overhead shower again, and he asked why. I said because I didn't want to deal with a wet floor again. He didn't reply. Now we're already seeing it. We're already looking at the problem, okay? If your wife, let's say we're in the husband's shoes or bed, because he probably doesn't. If he has shoes in bed, that's a whole different problem, and you should divorce him immediately. But let's just say, unless if he has like a condition, like maybe there's a condition that I don't know about where you need to wear shoes. Off topic, let's get back on topic. You see your wife cleaning up, and instead of saying, hey, could I maybe help you out? Or even saying nothing. But you should probably say, could I help you out? Or is everything going okay? What's going on? Something like that. You just say, come back to bed. Come on. Because even if you don't agree, even if you think like it's fine, you don't need to clean it up right now. You can just like also just let her do her thing. And this can go both ways, right? But I'm like, this specific situation, I'm just saying, right? Just let it be. The reason I say this is because I know what's going to happen, right? He hasn't really been annoying, but I feel like there's just, the reason this conflict starts is so stupid and unnecessary. And I hate stuff like arguing unnecessarily. I was annoyed by this because he has a history of not taking me seriously when I asked things like this. I was also annoyed that I needed to spend my vacation time cleaning up after him. So I asked him if he had heard me. He said yes. I asked why he didn't reply then, and he said because I already said I wouldn't, and this conversation isn't worth it. At this moment, he's right, actually. Right? Because here's the thing. He did already say I wasn't going to use it again. So even if he didn't agree with you, he agreed to not do it for you, for your sake, right? So I feel like, again, I get you're all tired, right? You want to sleep, but this is just so unneeded. The conflict doesn't exist. There is no conflict, yet this somehow became a conflict. But to be fair, I was annoyed by this because he has a history of not taking me seriously. It's a very big communication issue. You should be able to say, hey, I feel like you don't take me seriously, and I don't appreciate that. And then the husband right, says, hey, I either didn't want to make you feel that way, or I'm sorry that I did, and I will try to be more proactive in listening and taking you serious from now on. And in that case, you have solved this problem, right, with communication, how it kind of is supposed to go. You know how it works, right? You know how it works? Because it's almost like if you're an adult, right, with an adult brain, and the other person is also an adult with an adult brain. You know how that goes. Because usually these relationships should be, or every time they should be between consenting adults. Anyway, back on topic. I'm sorry, I keep going on like random tangents. If you do that as adults, then there is no problem. So this is very childish. From there, it slowly devolved into an argument. Him insisting that A, I didn't need to clean it. He put a towel there and would go to the front desk in the morning to have them check the shower for a leak. If she wants to clean it, she can clean it, man. It's probably better. B, that he didn't want to clean it because he was tired and it was late, over midnight. C, he didn't want to argue and stress about things and ruin our vacation. I insisted that it wasn't fair to expect me to live in this mess because he doesn't want to clean it up right away. This is an argument we've had before. He's insisted that I have extremely high standards of cleanliness. Having the floor not be soaking wet is not an extreme high standard, okay? I don't know these people's entire relationship. This is not an example of high standard of cleanliness, okay? It is normal to not want your bathroom floor to be wet as something that's very wet, a lake or something that's very wet. When it takes 5 minutes, and this is a tile bathroom that will be slippery with water, so it's a health hazard. Also, who wants to go to the bathroom at 3 a.m. and end up with sodden slippers? A little bit of water, whatever. But I had to wring out those 2 towels at least 5 or 6 times, and the floor is still quite wet. Anyway, so we're at a stalemate now, because he says I'm being too stressy on vacation and nagging, whereas I feel like the grown-up thing to do is clean up an excessive mess like that when it happens out of consideration of who you share your space with. The space with. Let's say it correctly. He says this stressy side of me is ugly and I'm ruining our trip. I said this man-child side of him is also unattractive and I'm stressy because of his actions, or rather lack thereof. Am I wasting my breath here? I feel like this is a common thread I see of nagging wives. My mom says I should learn to live with it as men are like this. So am I the a-hole for ruining our vacation with my stressy attitude? First of all, if this ruins your vacation, you shouldn't be on vacation and you shouldn't be together. Secondly, your mom is very wrong. I am a man, as you can see. If you couldn't see that, then that's very insulting, actually. I mean, my hair is a mess, to be fair. My big forehead and stuff. Yeah, baby. That's way better. Anyway, I don't do this, okay? If the bathroom is a mess, I clean every mess up, right? I mean, my room is kind of stuff thrown about, right? But that's not the point. When there's something annoying or that inhibits someone else, I clean it up. So my dishes are always cleaned up. I don't leave the toilet seat up. Or I actually pee sitting down at home because I think that's way more hygienic. But I'm just saying, right? And even if I'm like out in public and I splash a little bit on the seat, I will grab a paper towel and I will wipe it off nice and clean and then wash my hands. Because guess what? That's what people do. Men are not like this. He's just weird. This is what I mean with ego. I said it at the start about ego. This is ego because neither can admit that they're wrong. And in this case, I don't think the wife is wrong in this case. I think your mom should, or mum, sorry, they're British. Your mum, I'm not going to say something mean about her mom, but your mom is wrong. With all due respect. It is annoying if the bathroom floor is wet and slippery and you're trying to go pee and then and wet feet and then you go in the bed with those wet feet. Nobody wants that. That's not nice. So you clean it up. Fine, right? And like I said, the husband could say, hey, you need help cleaning it up. Tomorrow I'll go to the front desk and tell them about this. See if they have a solution. I'm just coming back to the point that this argument has no reason to be an argument. It started off well with him agreeing not to use the overhead. And then you had to ask again. I don't know why, but let's just, okay, that's fine. Then he doesn't reply, and I can already imagine. Like, I don't know these people, and I don't know if this is true, but I can imagine, like, his annoyance and reluctance to admit that he's wrong. He was finding, like, oh, I already told you that I won't do it, so I'm just not going to reply. Then you ask did you hear me? And then he got even more annoyed, even though he knows that it's logical to ask because you didn't get a reply. I feel it in my bones that this is exactly what was going on. I know things. I am aware. I'm a knower. I take in information and then I know stuff. You know what I'm saying? This argument just didn't need to happen. This is why people get divorced, because nobody can admit that they're wrong. Just behave like an adult. Come on, man. If I ever get into a relationship again, because I haven't been in one for like 3 years or more, I don't remember. We're just not gonna do this, because this is just this. You don't need to do this. This is unnecessary. Nobody has energy for this. Like, even in the story, it's late at night. It's past midnight. Everybody wants to go to sleep. You don't have time and energy to go make problems out of nowhere. Even if you just don't entirely agree and you're still kind of think that she's wrong, then just shut up. Just shut up and say, okay, fine, I'll just not use it and I'll let you clean it up right now, even though I disagree, and then we'll just move on with our lives, because it actually matters this little in the grand scheme of things. Spitting on myself. That's how upset you got me, okay? About nothing. Now you guys are upset at each other, and now I'm upset as well, and I hope you got what you wanted. Which is nothing. You got nothing except upset people all around. Go fix your communication and go do it now. But let's relax, okay? I said my piece. I said what I needed to say. And I stand very strongly with the words that I said. Especially the later ones. With now everyone's upset and you got nothing. And it's ego. It's ego. Ego gets in the way of so much. There's a reason, right? God has said that it's the worst sin. Pride. Ego. It's the same thing. Pride ruins everything. So much bad stuff is born out of pride. Even things like stealing, right? You had so much ego that you thought that you could have that thing that doesn't belong to you. That's your ego talking every time. You know, and you could give the argument, like, context matters. Okay, let's say your kids are starving and you steal food. Maybe that's not, like, you care about your kids. That makes sense. But a lot of times, like 99% of theft is not because of that, right? Greed and pride go hand in hand, right? You feel like you deserve money or power or fame, and that corrupts you to turn you into a narcissist. Pride. It's all pride. And then you do horrible stuff to keep your power, keep your wealth. Like, you go hang out with the wrong people to get your political power, and then they can get used against you. And now there's a list, but there isn't a list because it's actually a hoax or not, or something. Not because he's on it, and there's a lot of photos with him on it, right? That's not why it's now all of a sudden fake, even though he promised to release it for his press. That's the whole reason I was kind of happy that he got elected, because I was like, yes, he's going to release it, which, looking back, was very naive. I know it was, but I had hope, okay? Can you fault me for being optimistic and wanting to have these pedophiles exposed? I know this is a rant and it's not at all what it's about, but I'm just saying, right? Pride and ego it's like a birthplace, and everything balloons and reaches out into other bad stuff, okay? You know what I'm saying? If you think about it, rape is also born out of pride and ego, because you feel that your sexual desires are so much more important than someone else's well-being and autonomy and rights to themselves. Like, you felt that you deserved their body more than that they deserved agency over their own body. Right? Pride, it's ego. It's your ego saying that. That's not, a humble person doesn't do that. So what's the main lesson here? Keep your ego in check and consider other people's feelings. Even, you don't have to agree. You could still have empathy towards other people, right? Without letting people walk all over you, because that's a whole different issue. But like, you can not let people walk over you and still empathize and think about other people's well-being and needs and wants at the same time. Those two things can be true at the same time. I feel like I say this a lot. I feel like that's a quote of mine. Two things can be true at the same time. That's also a thing that can be true at the same time. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got something out of it. Maybe you did enjoy it. I don't know why you would. Like, what's enjoyment about this? Drama? People like drama, I guess. Anyway, let's just end the video, okay? Leave a like, subscribe, comment something positive, please. I don't want negativity right now, or ever, for that matter. Actually, I hope you're doing well. Jesus Christ is Lord, and let's get out of here.